This is the OGBOOKS Revenue Distribution menu. I guess when it's all said and done, this is what it's all about. Select Enter Revenue Entries. Look up the purchaser. Type in the check number. Check date and date received. Now you can enter the detail from the check stub. Look up the property, distribution list, or you can manually allocate the revenues to a specific owner. Production month, product code, volume, tax, marketing deducted, and net cash received.
No good.
Proceed likewise until you have all of the check detail entered. Check the total against the amount of the check. Save. Add additional checks until you have entered all that you intend to process at this time. You will notice that some data is input as gross and some as net. That's because every purchaser lays out their check stub differently, and OGBOOKS allows you to input the figures from the various check stubs in the way that is the easiest and fastest for you to read. You can list all of the entries, and if all looks well, distribute the revenues. This function causes the system to allocate the revenues to the appropriate owners based on the distribution list selected for each individual property. This report shows how the revenue entries have been allocated to the owners by property. Now we are ready to print the disbursement details. Enter the beginning revenue check number, check date. You can choose to write checks for any or all product codes, working or royalty interests only, or both. Minimum check amount can be determined owner by owner or the same minimum amount for all owners. You can elect whether or not to print statements for owners whose amounts due are below the minimum check amount. At your option, you can print a report showing revenues disbursed by property. You can elect to refund JIB credit balances on the revenue checks for specific owners. This option can also be selected when you set up an owner in the master files and you wouldn't have to remember to do it now. You can elect to distribute revenues on all properties or only certain ones at your discretion. Amounts payable to any owner that are below the minimum check amount you select will be held in minimum suspense until accumulated revenues payable are greater than the minimum amount. Each owner receives a revenue disbursement detail that shows 8/8 and net owner interest for each property. Here is an owner who has been coded to have outstanding JIB invoices deducted from his revenue check. After examining the revenue check detail, you can print the revenue checks. Obviously, these aren't real checks, but you can see what it would look like. Check style and alignment can be adjusted as you choose. You can look at the preliminary check register before finalizing the checks. The last page of the check register shows total actual checks written, legal suspense released and or added, minimum suspense released and added, company revenues, JIB invoices withheld, and the original net amount that was shown on the revenue entry listing. Next is a report showing the detail of minimum suspense held back and released on this check run. And then a detailed report of legal suspense released and added. If you are satisfied that all is well with the revenue distribution, you are ready to post the revenue run. Before posting, the system automatically performs a backup. You can send the backup to any hard drive or flash drive in your system. At posting, the system prints the final revenue check register, the final minimum suspense register, the final legal suspense register, and the appropriate journal entry to the general ledger. From the Revenue Distribution menu, you can run an owner cross-reference report for any or all owners and see which properties and distribution lists each owner has interests in and how the interests are handled in the system. You can reprint any revenue check detail for any owner anytime you like. You can run suspense reports for any or all owners for any or all properties anytime you want. And you can release suspense from whomever to whomever you choose. This report shows how this owner's suspense has been released to two successor owners. As you have seen, the OGBOOKS Revenue Distribution module is extremely versatile and can be set to automatically handle any and all possibilities that could occur in your unique situations. OGBOOKS is the best oil and gas processing software in the world.